What kind of FPL teams are the top 1% of FPL managers choosing going ahead into the 2025-26 season in FPL? They've all been making their teams. The top 1% of FPL managers is the top 100,000 FPL managers from last season. They're all starting their new FPL teams, but what kind of players are they choosing? What team are they building? And how many, well, what percent of these players are actually getting picked by the top 1% of FPL managers? We've got absolutely everything covered in this video. If you're an FPL fan and you're not subscribed to this channel, then do hit that subscribe button. This is the place to be for daily FPL content. If you want to be the best prepared going into the new FPL season, then do hit that subscribe button. We've got well inside the top 100, well inside the top 1%, well inside the top 100,000 last season. So if you want to hit that subscribe button and you're up to date with all of the latest content, do go ahead and do that. And let's go through all of the players that are getting selected by the top 1% of FPL managers. So starting off with our goalkeeper, we have got Kelleher of Brentford. Of course, a new signing for Brentford, and 4.5 million. A lot of people like to go for kind of the cheaper option as their goalkeeper. And Kelleher has got 51% of the top 100,000, or the top 1% owning him. So literally half of the managers have gone for Kelleher, which just shows he is a very, very popular pick. Going ahead right now, and he's very popular at this current stage. Of course, times can change as it gets close to the season. But Brentford have a decent run at the start of the season. The first 6, they got Nottingham Forest away, Aston Villa away, then Sunderland, then Chelsea, then Fulham, then Man United. So it's a decent enough fixture run. And this will obviously be a keeper that you'd have to kind of want to have for that kind of long term for Kelleher, because no one wants to be making goalkeeper transfers at any point really in the season, ideally. So Kelleher is going to be a player a lot of people are going to stick with throughout the season, especially up until they use that first wild card. So Kelleher, I can see staying very popular, and I do think he is a very good option. And for me in my personal team, I do have Kelleher as my goalkeeper. So there is also some potentially 4.0 million or 4 million goalkeepers that you could potentially go for, who could potentially play in the season as well, but definitely one that we can keep an eye on as it gets closer to pre-season. The likes of Kinski for Spurs potentially, or there's also Cardalo for Leeds United as well. So ones to keep an eye on as it gets kind of later in pre-season. We'll kind of see that, but right now I think Kelleher is a very safe choice for the goalkeeper. Going on to our first defender now, the most owned defender is actually Aaron Wan-Bissaka of West Ham. Now, West Ham are a team that have a very good fixture run at the start of the season, playing against Sunderland, then Chelsea, then Nottingham Forest, then Spurs, then Crystal Palace, and Everton. A decent enough run. And Wan-Bissaka, again, he's 4.5 million. He got quite a few attacking contributions last season. Potentially can chip in with a few clean sheets as well. I think he's very popular as well due to that first game playing against Sunderland, which, by the way, Sunderland have made a lot of transfers and are looking very they're looking like they're really giving the Premier League a good go. But Wan-Bissaka at that kind of price point at 4.5 did play at wing back as well at stages for West Ham under Graham Potter. I really do think he is a great option at 4.5 million, and for me he's the guy who's in my team at 4.5 million, and I think he provides great value, and he is going to be very, very popular. As I say, 66% of the top 1% FPL managers are owning Aaron Wan-Bissaka right now. It just proves how popular he really is right now. The other one that's actually surprised me at how highly owned he is Ezri Konsa. 64% owned. Aston Villa do have one of the better fixture runs at the start of the season. In the opening 6 fixtures, they rank 3rd in terms of team that for fixture difficulty. They got Newcastle, then Brentford, then Crystal Palace, then Everton, then Sunderland, then Fulham. It's a decent run of fixtures there for Aston Villa at the start of the season. So obviously that's a reason why Konsa's going to be very highly owned, because of that fixture run. And 4.5 million, and he is the most nailed on centre-back for Aston Villa as well, which proved last season. So I do think Konsa is a very decent option. He's not in my personal team, but 64% of the top 1K do own it, or the top 1% do own him, which does mean that he is going to be very popular going into the new season as of right now. Then the other defender is an interesting one. It is Goalkeeper. I'm sorry if I said that wrong, but basically Brighton are going to be getting rid of Estupiñán. It looks like he's off to the Serie A. Estupiñán is, and this guy is apparently a very attacking fullback, which can obviously get them attacking contributions, and playing for a Brighton team, which definitely isn't bad in the slightest. I can understand why people are choosing him. He's not in my team right now. He's someone that I'm going to definitely have to keep an eye on over pre-season, because Brighton, the fixture difficulty, ranked 12th in the opening 6 Premier League games, but they do have a decent opening 2. Fulham at home, Everton away. Then they play Man City, then Bournemouth away, then Spurs at home, and then Chelsea away. So it's it's kind of a mixed bag in the opening 6 game, but then with him being 4.5 million, he can kind of have that kind of rotation. You can rotate him with another defender, and he can kind of come in and out of the side for whatever fixtures are then 42% owned, so a bit of a drop-off compared to an Ezri Konsa and Wan-Bissaka, but 42% owned, so what, that's 4 out of 10 of the top 1% owning De Kuiper. Now moving on to the midfield, does it surprise you at all that Mo Salah is on there? It's also got the captaincy in there, it says 138%, because that's because FPL managers have put the captaincy on him for game week 1, and I'm one of their managers, the boring FPL managers that chooses to put Mo Salah on there. Now the fixtures for Liverpool aren't exactly the best, they're not bad, but at the end of the day it's Liverpool. Does it really matter? And does it really matter when it's Mo Salah? The guy is just an absolute machine. So for me, he's 100% going into my team. I know he's obviously very expensive at 14.5 million, but I don't care. At the end of the day, Mo Salah, record breaker last season, and he's probably I don't think he's going to be able to match what he did last season, but I still think he'll get very close to that. And if he gets anywhere near it, he's still done unbelievably well in FPL. And for me, captaincy against Bournemouth, I think he's definitely going to be very popular in terms of the captaincy in the first week. Now, interestingly, Cole Palmer is actually higher owned than Mo Salah in terms of selected in teams in the top 1%, but then captaincy, they've actually then chosen Mo Salah over Cole Palmer, which puts him higher up on the percentage. But in terms of ownership, Mo Salah had 84%, Cole Palmer had 85% of the top 1% in terms of just ownership out of the 100%. So Cole Palmer, very, very popular this season, which for me is quite surprising. I mean, obviously he did very well in the Club World Cup, and we've seen how well he's done over the last 2 seasons, but he did definitely struggle in the second half of the season. It was so frustrating to own as an FPL asset. I thought that might potentially put people off, but it hasn't put people off in the slightest because he is so heavily owned. But Chelsea's fixtures as well, it definitely is worth noting, are right up there. In terms of the Big Six, they have got the best fixtures in terms of fixture difficulty. They rank 5th in the whole of the Premier League. They've got Crystal Palace on the opening game. Then they've got West Ham. Then they've got Fulham. Then they've got Brentford. Then they've got Man United. And then they've got Brighton. So for me, I think that's a really good run of fixtures there for Cole Palmer and Chelsea. So I can absolutely understand why people are putting Cole Palmer in their team. And he's an unbelievable player, let's be real, Cole Palmer. And he had that kind of that spell where he was really not performing. But I think he's probably going to get past that. And he's going to be very popular over the course of this FPL season. On to the next midfielder, it is Florian Wirtz. So if you see my TikTok, I've spoken a lot about him. Florian Wirtz, one of the higher owned players in FPL, and in terms of the top 1%, 80% ownership, which is obviously ridiculously high. 8 out of 10 managers there selecting Florian Wirtz in their FPL teams. There's a new sign to get that kind of ownership. Just shows how hype this transfer really is. And again, Liverpool's fixtures aren't exactly the best, but I think 8.5 million could potentially be really good value. You look at the numbers that he put up over in the Bundesliga. Yes, it's the Bundesliga, I know, but I think coming into that Liverpool team, he also played a pre-season game if you didn't watch against Stoke. Now, I know, again, it's pre-season and it's only against Stoke, but this guy was just an absolute joke. He picked up 2 assists, one for Darwin Núñez and another one as well, and he could absolutely light it up in the Premier League. And he's one of them players that, if he gets a return in the first game week, everyone's going to be on to him straight away. So sometimes it might be best just to choose him, just so you're not losing on everybody else if he does go ahead and do really well at the start of the season and hit the ground running. So Florian Wirtz, 80% owned. Doesn't surprise me in the slightest. I said on my TikTok, I think he'd be so highly owned in the top 1%. Clearly agree with that. And he's in my team personally, along with, of course, Mo Salah. And another one that is in my team as well, who I'm surprised is that highly owned, but it is Mohamed Kudus at £6.5 million. It really is a good value pick in my opinion. I think obviously his numbers at West Ham struggled last season, but you look at what he did the season before for West Ham and how explosive this guy can be in a team like Spurs. It could suit him a lot more. And Spurs have actually a very good fixture run at the start of the season, playing against Burnley in the opening game, which I think is a big reason why people are choosing him as well, wanting to start off strong. And a game against Burnley is very nice. Man City game week 2, but then Bournemouth after that, then West Ham, then Brighton, then Wolves. So 5 out of the first 6, I think, are really decent fixtures for Spurs going forward. So I'm not surprised that Kudus is picked for that reason at all. But I guess his numbers for West Ham wasn't exactly the best last season, but I do think he could really kind of level up his game in terms of numbers this season for Spurs now that he has signed for them. So I really like that pick, and he's in my personal team. Now, the other one is a player that's very trusted by FPL managers. He's not in my team personally right now, but it is Morgan Rogers. Now, again, I spoke about Villa's fixtures before, ranked 3rd in terms of fixture difficulty with Newcastle, Brentford, Crystal Palace, Everton, Sunderland and Fulham. It's a good run of fixtures to start off the season for Aston Villa. And Morgan Rogers, we saw how consistent he was last season and how much of an incredible pick he was over the course of the season. Obviously, he's got a higher price this season, but he still could provide excellent value with that fixture run. Getting on him at the start of the season definitely could be the way to go. And at 50% ownership or 49% ownership of the top 1%, half of the FPL managers in that top 1% are going ahead and choosing Morgan Rogers, which I don't blame them at all. When you look at that kind of fixture, and as I say, the guy's got proven minutes under Unai Emery. Emery absolutely loves the guy, and he's got proven goals and assists and proven FPL points. I don't blame FPL managers in the slightest for going ahead and choosing Morgan Rogers. So that 5-man midfield there, all very, very popular. And then going on to the forwards, before we go on to the bench, we then have Dominic Solanke, which, again, I guess it goes down to Spurs' fixtures at the start of the season and that opening game especially against Burnley at home, because you do really think Spurs could get a few goals in that game with it being up against a newly promoted side. We know how the newly promoted sides in the past have been the whipping boys in the last couple of years. In FPL especially, you really do target them newly promoted teams, and a lot of people are obviously looking to do that with the likes of Mohamed Kudus and now the likes of Dominic Solanke, which is crazy, 76% of the top 1% owning him. Yeah, that's 3/4 of the people there owning a Dominic Solanke in the top 100k from last season, which I think is absolutely crazy. I didn't really consider him too much in my team, but maybe I should consider him a little bit more after looking at that. But as I say, Spurs have 5 really nice fixtures in their opening 6 games. They rank 6th in terms of the fixture difficulty. And that opening game against Burnley is definitely a really good reason to potentially be going for Dominic Solanke at the start of the season. And then the other striker, who I thought would be the highest owned striker in the top 1%, but it's not. It is João Pedro, though, on 59% ownership. So there's still the majority of people owning João Pedro. Of course, we saw him hit the ground running in the Club World Cup. Obviously, with Chelsea forwards, you've got Liam Delap, you've got Nicholas Jackson. You got 2 players there that could very easily come in and take João Pedro's place, but then you also think João Pedro can kind of operate in different areas as well, depending on, he's a very versatile player and he can play in multiple different positions in that Chelsea team. But you would expect him to be the number 9 for Chelsea, given the fact that he was there in the Club World Cup. So I think it could be a really, really good option this season. João Pedro at 7.5 million could provide really good value. I do always have them question marks, if he has a couple of bad games. Could Liam Delap come into the side? Could Nicholas Jackson come into the side? I do think that's very much a possibility. So going for a João Pedro, you're kind of gambling on the fact that he performs very well at the start of the season and then keeps his place. But they also spent a lot of money on him, so they will want to be kind of obviously utilising him as much as possible. So those are the 2 strikers that are the most popular in terms of the options. Interestingly, no Erling Haaland there. And then onto the bench, you've got Sells. This is obviously not really taking price into consideration because you wouldn't have Kelleher and Sells in the same team. But Sells at 37% ownership, very, very popular. Nottingham Forest is a team that's probably getting overlooked in terms of FPL assets at the start of the FPL season, because they actually rank number 1 in terms of fixture difficulty, with games against Brentford, Crystal Palace, West Ham, then Arsenal, then Burnley, then Sunderland. Playing 2 of the newly promoted teams in the first 6, along that then with 3 mid-table teams / towards the bottom end of the table teams, and then just 1 difficult fixture on paper with Arsenal. So I can understand people going for Sells. I'm surprised, Nottingham Forest assets aren't as popular, but there's just so many good assets in there, isn't there, this year. Then as a forward, it's actually Jared Bowen. I think the West Ham fixtures obviously play a part in that. We spoke about it before with Aaron Wan-Bissaka. A good run of fixtures for West Ham at the start of the season. I think with Bowen moving to a forward, it actually benefits his kind of ownership a lot more, because there's so many different options in midfield. You see that midfield there, with Salah, Palmer, Wirtz, Kudus. And then you've also got Rodgers as well, with so many other ones, like probably in Burmo, Cunha, Cherky as well. You've got so many options that you can go for days about players you can talk about in their midfield options. Jared Bowen would just be another one of them. In the forward options, you kind of have less options, and Jared Bowen, he played a lot in the number 9 for West Ham last season, did really well. Will he play there again next season? We'll have to see if they kind of invest in a striker, which we do definitely expect them to do. But Jared Bowen could be a fantastic option. And he always is, just consistent points in Jared Bowen. He's a bit of a boring pick, and I feel like he always gets overlooked. But you can't argue with the guy's numbers. He puts up numbers season in, season out. And I think with him being a forward now, he might actually get shown a little bit more love and a little bit more respect than he deserves, because there's less competition in terms of forward options than there is midfield options. And the other 2 defenders then on the bench are Gabriel with 39% ownership. The most popular kind of premium defender is Gabriel. Obviously, there's other options as well. I think Ait Nouri is a good option. There's obviously Gvardiol as well. Cucurella with Chelsea having good fixtures. A Chelsea defender could be a really good way to go about it. Then, of course, Gabriel himself is a good option, in my opinion, as well. So 39% ownership. Of course, we know Arsenal's defence has always been very solid. And defensively, in terms of numbers last season, in terms of XG Arsenal were the best team in the Premier League. So I think Gabriel is a reason why he's been picked. Obviously, Arsenal's fixtures are a little bit tougher at the start of the season, which isn't ideal, which is going to put people off, and it's put me off slightly as well. But there's no doubt that Gabriel is a great option. He's a very safe option as well, with the goal threat as well. Not even to mention that he could potentially, chip in with a couple of goals like he did last season. I think he could be a really good option, of course. Pretty, not really saying any groundbreaking stuff there, am I really? But then the final defender is actually Destiny Udogie. 37% owned of the top 1k, 4.5 million in FPL, could provide really good value, of course, gets forward well. We'll see how he plays in this kind of Thomas Frank system. Obviously, it's going to be a lot different to how they played under Ange Postecoglou. But Spurs, as I said before, good run of fixtures definitely plays a part. The opening game against Burnley definitely plays a part as well. I think Spurs are definitely getting looked at a lot more because of that opening game against Burnley at home, where you think Spurs have surely got to be getting a result in that game. But as I say, 5 out of the first 6 in the opening games are really nice for Spurs. As a rotation option, with the likes of Wan-Bissaka who's in here, Konsa who's in here, Takaipa who's in here, and the new doggy, you've got a few rotation players there, and if difficult fixtures come, you might have a good fixture there for your other defender to then come in. So let me know what you think of that team in the comment section down below. How many of these players as well do you own out of these top 1% players who are the most popular? And let me know what you think of that team in the comment section down below. Drop a like if you enjoyed, subscribe to the channel. As I say, if you watch this point, you may as well hit that subscribe button. We do daily FPL content. This is the place to be for daily FPL content, so do drop that subscribe. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.